Hello, welcome back to Math 8. This is a video over section 4, and we're going to be solving equations with variables on both sides. So we want to determine and apply the steps needed to isolate a variable in a linear equation with a variable on both sides, solve equations with variables on both sides, and verify the solutions. So, same way that we would solve any other equation, we apply the concept of combining like terms by moving variable terms on the other side. So here's what I mean by that. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. If I wanted to solve this equation, notice how we have an x on both sides of my equal sign. And what I want to do is I want to move this entire term of 2x over to the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract both sides by 2x, okay? And so the 2x minus 2x, this part here, is going to cancel out, and you're left with negative 7 is equal to 4x minus 2x, which gives me just 2x. Divide both sides by 2 and by 2, so x is going to equal negative 7 halves. And that's our answer, okay? So that's what we've got for that. All right, let's move over to the next one. This one involves some decimals. All right, so I've got 5.6x is equal to 20.1x plus 2 is plus 2.76. So again, I want to get all my terms with an x on one side. Okay, I want to move my 20.1x over to the other side, so I would subtract both sides by 20.1x, so minus 20.1x. Okay, those are going to cancel out. I've got 5.6x minus 20.1. And that's going to give me a value of negative 14.5x is equal to 2.76. Now I'm going to divide both sides by negative 14.5. Negative 14.5. So those are going to cancel out. So I've got 2.76 divided by 14.5. And that's going to give me an answer of x is approximately 0.19. And that's what we've got, okay? Now, this decimal does continue on for a very long time, so I'm just going to round it to 2 decimal places. So my exact answer, okay, exact answer would be x equals 2.676 over negative 14.5, okay? But this answer here is an approximate answer, okay? All right, let's take a look at the next one, okay? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to I want to combine my x's on the same side of the equal sign. So I'm going to subtract and move 4.1x to the other side. So because it's positive, I'm going to subtract 4.1x from both sides. Okay, those are going to cancel out. Okay, so then I've got 5.3x minus 4.1x. Okay. And that's going to give me 1.2x. So 1.2x, and that's going to equal 5.76. I'm going to divide both sides by 1.2, divide by 1.2. Those are going to divide out. So I've got x is equal to 5.76 divided by 1.2. Okay, and that's going to give me an x value of 4.8. All right, and that's what we've got. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, and this one involves fractions. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I want to move this term here with an x over here to combine like terms. Okay, I have a negative 3/4 x. I'm going to add 3/4 x to both sides. Okay, now remember, when I'm combining like terms, I'm just adding the numbers in front of the x and keeping the x. So what I need to do is think about if I've got 1/2 x plus 3/4 x. I want to turn this 2 into a 4, okay? And so I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 2 over 2, okay? So I've got 8 is equal to 2 over 4x plus 3/4 x, okay? And then what I can do is I can just add my numerators together. 2 and 3 is going to give me 5, so I'm going to get 5/4 x. And that's all equal to 8. So now what I want to do is I want to multiply by my reciprocal to get my answer. So we're going to multiply both sides by 4/5, multiply by 4 over 5, okay? And so over here, the 5s are going to divide out, 4 is going to divide out, and I'm going to be left with x, okay? So now I've got this. I've got 4/5 times 8 over 1. Now I'm just going to multiply across, and I'm going to get 4 times 8, which is 32, over 5 times 1, which is 5. So 32/5 is equal to x, and that's our answer, okay? And that's all I got for this page, okay? Okay, now what I'm going to do on this next page is show you a thing that we have with these types of problems where when you solve these equations, you can do this more than one way. So we're going to solve the equation 3x plus 4 is equal to 5x plus 9, okay? So I'm going to solve it by putting the variable term on the right, okay? So I'm going to do 3x plus 4 equals 5x plus 9. Okay, so I'm going to move all my variable terms over here on the right. Okay, so variable on the right side, numbers on the left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first move my 3x to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. Okay, and so then I'm going to get 4 is equal to 2x plus 9. Okay, and then I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. Okay, and I get 4 minus 9, which is negative 5. And that's equal to 2x. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 2 and by 2, so x is equal to negative 5 halves, okay? And that's my answer, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the exact same thing, but I'm going to do everything, move everything to the other side of the equation. So same thing, 3x plus 4 is equal to 5x plus 9. Now I'm going to move my 5x over to the other side, okay? And so if I move my 5x over to the other side, all right, we're going to get 3 minus 5, which is negative 2x plus 4 equals 9. So then I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides, and I'm going to get that negative 2x is equal to positive 5. And if I divide by negative 2, okay, then I'm going to get the same thing. I'm going to get that x is equal to negative 5 halves. And that's my answer, okay? And so that's what I want you guys to see is that, you know, when I do this, if I solve an equation, you have the freedom to do whatever you want to do and move things over to the other sides of the equation. If you want to move your x's to the right, you can do that. If you want to move them to the left, you can do that as well. It doesn't matter, okay? But that's what we've got going on. All right, so let's talk about the next couple of equations, okay? Solve the equation 3.6x minus 4.12 is equal to 6.1x plus 2.6. Now, you have options here, okay? Like what we just did in the last problem, okay? You could move the 3.6x over to this side, or I could move the negative 6.1x over to the other side. It doesn't matter. However, one method will allow you to work with only positive numbers, okay? The other method won't. Now, I'm going to do it both ways, okay? So I'm going to do it method 1, okay, method 1, where I'm going to do 3.6x minus 4.12 is equal to negative 6.1x plus 2.76. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the negative 6.1x over to the other side. And the reason why is because I would have to add it because it's negative, and I would be adding it to another positive number, which would in turn make that positive, okay? So I'm going to add 6.1x to both sides, all right? And so I would get 3.6 plus 6.1 is 9.7x minus 4.12 is equal to 2.76. Now I'm going to add 4.12. Okay, and that's the other thing. I noticed that this number was negative. So if I add that to both sides, okay, I'm adding it to a positive number, which is just going to make it positive. So plus 4.12, and that's going to give me 9.7x is equal to 6.88, all right? And then I'm going to divide both sides by 9.7, all right? So I've got 6.88 divided by 9.7, and that's going to give me a value. Well, let's write it like this. Let's write it as 6.88 divided by 9.7, okay? This is an exact answer, okay? Or x would approximately be 0.709, okay? And so that's one way. Okay, now I'm going to do this the other method, method 2. Okay, so I've got 3.6x minus 4.12 is equal to negative 6.1x plus 2.76. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move all my variable terms to the right side. So I'm going to subtract 3.1x. So minus 3.6x minus 3.6x. All right. And that's going to give me negative 9.7x, okay? Plus 2.76 is equal to negative 4.12. Now I'm going to subtract 2.76 from both sides. And I'm going to get 2 is negative 6.88 is equal to negative 9.7x. Now, the reality of it is, guys, I have the same thing, except both numbers are negative, but I'm going to divide by negative 9.7, divide by negative 9.7. All right, so 6.88 negative divided by 9.7 negative gives me that x is equal to 6.88 over 9.7. Okay, that's one of them, and then I could say that x is approximately 0.709. Okay, and so that's what I've got. So that's that. So, understand that it doesn't matter what you do. As long as what you're doing is a legal math move, then you're good, okay? All right, let's talk about this last problem, okay? And on this last one, we want to solve the riddle. 9 minus 3/4 a number is the same as 7 less than half a number, okay? We want to figure out what's the number, okay? So let's solve this equation, okay? And what I'm going to do is, thinking about this, I have a negative 3/4 x, I have a positive 1/2 x. If I would have to add this number to move it over to the other side, okay? So I'm going to do that. I'm going to add 3/4 x to both sides, okay? And that's going to give me 9 is equal to 1/2 x plus 3/4 x minus 7. Now let's combine these as like terms. Let's get a common denominator. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom over here by 2. So I'm going to get 9 is equal to 2/4 x plus 3/4 x minus 7. 2/4 plus 3/4 gives me 5/4. So I've got 5/4 x minus 7 is equal to 9. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the 7. Okay, so add the 7 to both sides. And that's going to give me 16 is equal to 5/4 x. Now, in order to move a fraction over, I need to multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to multiply by 4/5, multiply by 4/5. And so on the right side, I just get x. These are going to divide out. And I've got 4/5 times 16 over 1. So 4 times 16 is going to give me 64. Whoop. All right, so I've got 64/5 is equal to x. And that's our answer, okay? So, we could have done this the other way. I'm not going to go, doing the other method. But you could move the 1/2 x over and then subtract 9. You get the same thing. So, hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.